Welcome back to the voices where
Pew, pew,
real people
pew.
share real stories. I'm gonna quickly pass the mic off to Destiny, our community manager at the Alopecia Community, to introduce our lovely guest, Ebony, in the building. But we'll break down all the features and all the highlights. Destiny, take it away.
We are so excited to have the lovely, beautiful, amazing Ebony Jean here today. She's an amazing beauty influencer, content creator, and advocate for folks with alopecia, sharing how she went from trying to fit in and look like everyone else to owning her version of beauty and building confidence. Can we get a round of applause for this amazing soul? Aw, I love y'all. Okay,
Oh, thank you so much.
of course. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, we're super excited to hear about what you have to say today. So starting off with our first question, did a little Instagram stalking and we saw an Instagram post where you opened up about struggling with trying to fit in and look like everyone else due to the importance women, especially women of color, put on their hair, but also the lack of representation in pictures, articles, magazines. And so can you tell us a little bit more about what that experience was like and how it made you feel?
Wait. That's a loaded question. But before we get to that question, because it's a loaded question, Ebony, if you can, with the audience, just share your background and just like I learned something new today. You were telling me about your love for art, and the background is created by Ebony. So if you can share your background and your story, just your alopecia story. But I want to hear from A to Z, and then we can get back to the question. If that's okay, Destiny.
Oh, that's good.
Please.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me. Hi, everybody. My name is Ebony Jean. I am from Jackson, Michigan, which is we're not that close to Detroit, but we're pretty close. I am I have alopecia universalis, and I've dealt with this condition for 28 years this year. I could not believe, like, just looking back on everything, how far I've come and the different things I've experienced. So yeah, dealing with alopecia, it has really changed my life. A fun fact about me, I love art. And speaking of which, I painted my wall, as y'all can see there. I did this during the pandemic because I was really bored and I wanted like something to do. And of course, everyone couldn't go outside and things were closed. So I decided to revamp my room. I love painting, I love art, and just decided to express my creativity. So this really helped me get through that difficult time, during everything that was going on in the world. So yeah, it was kind of my escape, but I really had fun doing this. And I did not paint these, but I added for decor.
Oh no, I was just saying we just had a few people that just joined us. Hey, what's going on?
Hey,
Hey man, what's up,
hey
bro?
Ebony, hey Charlie, hey Rob,
Hey guys.
hi Destiny.
Hi, y'all.
Ebony
So
was just
excited you're here.
Ebony was just like walking her through the beauty that she has in her background. She painted that wallpaper, so there's a craftsmanship of art and her creative expressions. But Destiny was getting to the first question, so Destiny, re-ask the question again because it was a loaded question.
It was long. Okay, so thank you so much, Ebony, for taking the time to share more about your background. That was a great suggestion, Rob, because we definitely needed the introduction. But now moving more into what the topic of this interview is, in an Instagram post, you opened up about struggling with trying to fit in and look like everybody else due to the importance women, especially women of color, put on their hair and the lack of representation in pictures and articles and in magazines. And so can you tell us more about what that experience was like for you and how it made you feel? Because yeah.
Wow, that is a loaded question. I am like I've I've been through a lot, trying to fit in and having this condition. So within the 20 plus years of wearing wigs and trying to adjust to society and looking at the standards of beauty that everyone has placed on women, especially women of color, I found it really stressful just trying to be myself, so growing up, you want to fit in, you want to look like everybody else, but it was really hard because I don't feel like I really had an outlet for me to just be me. So I started wearing wigs when I was 9 years old. That's when my hair fell out completely. My mom, she made my first headband wig, and they were not sold in stores at the time. So she spent a good while creating this wig for me, but unfortunately, my classmates laughed at me for wearing it.
Oh.
And so it took a while for my teacher to calm everyone down. I had such a difficult time, just trying to make friends. And I got sick of explaining myself to people because they're like, why does your hair look like that? And like coming from the Black community, we deal with different textures of hair. And so a lot of people ask these questions. Why don't you ever wear your real hair? Why do you wear weave all the time? And do you ever take off that headband? It was just really annoying. So I would say around high school, that's when I really started to express myself through fashion and trying to style my hair the best I could, to make it look presentable. But I would say I didn't really get comfortable with my appearance until my mid 20s. So when I turned 25, that's when everything officially like took off for me. And that's when I started sharing my alopecia story. And I guess the more people embraced me, the more comfortable I became. So yeah, that's something that it wasn't an overnight journey, but I'm glad that I'm here now.
That's what's up. What age did you get alopecia again?
I got it when I was 4.
And you started wearing wigs not until closer to your adulthood?
So my hair fell out on and off from 2nd to 5th grade. And then by 5th grade, it fell out completely. And then I started wearing wigs around that time. So I would say from age 9 to, oh, I'm sorry.
No, but guys, Mike just joined us. But go ahead, finish your thought.
So from ages 9 to 24, going on 25, that's how long I was wearing wigs for.
Wow. So when, like, I'm trying to also paint the picture in terms of like how we define beauty, because obviously in these sort of societal norms, whether at an early age we're put into a structural system where school, we go to school, you got to be there at 8 o'clock, you got to get out of school at 3 o'clock, and then you're at home, and then you got to be asleep at a certain time. But then it's like, as a child, you're just doing whatever your parents say. You're also having fun. There's a lot of curiosity, and you're just being a kid, right? But it's like, at what point, like, you started noticing, like, oh, wait, beauty has some sort of definition that is different, maybe that how I'm identifying versus how society or my peers at school may see me. So I'm curious, like, what was that turning point for you when or how did you start owning that version of beauty, and also started seeing the distinction of like what you may see as beauty or what my others see as beauty?
I love that question. I would say like the turning point for me was at the ages of 26 and 27. So when I first went public with my story, I was in DC. I was coming back from the NAF conference. And when I came back home, that's when everyone said, you're beautiful just the way that you are. And one thing about it, my mom has always told me to be comfortable and confident in my skin. And of course, parents, they do the best they can by encouraging you and being there for you. And I'm so thankful to my mom for helping me get through this journey. But yeah, just being in that place of comfortability and not owning society standards of beauty anymore. Yeah, I would say around the 27, that's when things began to really turn for me. And I started competing in pageants and just sharing my story. And the more open I became about my story, the more confident I became with myself, because a lot of people, they try to tell you to look like this or to look like that. And I just got tired of it. I said, you know what? I can't please everybody. I can't I can't put myself in this box that other people have tried placing me in for so many years, because a lot of people assume that since I don't have hair, that will stop something or that will limit me from doing what I want to do, but hair does not define any of us. And I'm just grateful that now we're in a time and an era where bald beauty is becoming accepted. um I'm free to be me, and I'm hoping that others will feel the same too, on who they are.
So Ebony has a follow-up question, but before we even go there, like you mentioned something interesting that caught my attention. You said you competed in beauty pageants, and when you want to talk about a box, that's like the boxes of all boxes. Like a beauty pageant says, you're beautiful because you check X, Y, and Z. So it's like, how do you just talked about how you didn't want to be put into a box and be defined beauty by somebody else, but yet here you're competing in a system that merits you based on whatever criteria. I don't know which competitions you entered, but like, did you feel like that helped you? Because there are some beauty pageants that are not necessarily based on physical looks. There's also other attributes that matter and define your beauty. So going through that process of competing, did that encourage you or discouraged you?
That's a really good question, Rob. I would say half and half, because the initial reason why I competed in pageants was to earn scholarship money for college. And so alopecia awareness became my platform, and I was petrified to talk about it. And honestly, that was the launching pad for what I'm doing right now. So my first year competing, I was very nervous. When I took my wig off backstage to start doing my makeup and things, all the girls were just in awe. And they said, like, I just cannot believe how brave you are to do this. Now, the following year, I competed on the local level first, and then I competed at Miss Michigan USA in 2016. So when I competed then, honestly, it was a good experience, and I was happy to be on stage. At the same time, I I would say I kind of limited myself from, going on stage bald, because honestly, like, although I just went public with my story, I didn't feel like I was ready, and I was kind of nervous to how people will respond to seeing a bald girl on stage, So it took a while for me to adjust, but it was a really great experience overall, just um getting one side of that confidence, but then seeing how other people want women to look in these systems, because I really wanted to change the standard of what a beauty queen looked like. So I really wanted to do that. I wanted to win, but unfortunately it didn't happen. But hopefully with my experience, it'll encourage more bald women to go on stage and own their beauty, and not having to let that define who they are, and just allowing people to see their natural selves.
You may have not have won the competition, but the real winner here is your confidence. And obviously, you being here today is a testimony of that. Go ahead, Destiny.
I was just about to say that you may not have won the battle, but you have won the war of just bringing more awareness around alopecia, and just allowing folks to come in, whether it's alopecia or it's another situation where folks are feeling maybe it's their weight, or maybe like whatever form of beauty that they are, them feeling more confident stepping up and showing up because of people like you. So don't feel like they're lost. You should have won, but they're lost. So thank you so much for sharing that. And also thank you so much, Rob, for that question. Your questions are so good. So the next question is around
Destiny, I got a question. Let me jump in here real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
My bad.
Good.
There was a span where when you were diagnosed and you was wearing wigs at the age of, the 5th grade, until you accepted it until you're 20, your mid-20s. I guess share with some of the viewers or some of the listeners some of your difficulties during that time. Because, with me, it was, it took about 6 years for me to finally accept this condition. But with you, I guess share me some of your difficulties you experienced during that gap when you were diagnosed until you finally fully accepted it.
Wow. So when I first got diagnosed, I was too young to remember what happened. So my mom filled me in on the entire process, but reality didn't officially kick in until grade school. And so going through the bullying, the teasing, I remember when I wore hats, my mom used to make hats for me to wear as well before starting the wig journey. But unfortunately, two of my classmates snatched off my hat while we were riding the school bus home. I was going on 7 years old when this happened, and I was just devastated at the whole situation. It really hindered me from wanting to ride the bus again. And thankfully, my bus driver knew my condition, but she didn't know what was going on in that moment. So, yeah, I stopped riding the bus after that. But then I made the brave decision to do that again, like to go back on the bus. And that's what really shocked people, because I guess I proved to them that you're not going to limit me from getting an education, but also living my everyday life. So I went through that period of losing my hair and watching it grow back, dealing with the name calling, teachers harassing me, trying to suspend me from school for wearing headband wigs. It was ridiculous. My mom had to take off work several days just to go up to my school and explain to educators what alopecia is, how it affects her, and what the school could do to accommodate me. So it was a huge gap, just watching my hair fall out and grow back, wearing the hats, the wigs. Once I reached middle school, that's when the bullying stopped. But then the cancer rumors started picking up. So I didn't really know how to respond to that. Like I kept telling people, well, I don't have cancer, but I couldn't really explain what was going on because I was emotionally depleted, if that makes sense. So it was really hard, just trying to find some form of normalcy. I did have friends, I don't want people to think I didn't have any friends at all, but a lot of my classmates were mean to me. And so, just looking back on everything, I'm really grateful that I was able to overcome that barrier. And now in adulthood, a lot of those same classmates came back to apologize for their mistreatment. And I'm really grateful for that because some people won't apologize at all. Some people will forget it and they're like, oh, well, I didn't think of it, like that, or I just didn't care. I was just going along with the other kids. But yeah.
Them teachers are tripping.
Yeah.
I can only imagine your mom walking in there. Excuse me, get out my way. Let me regulate. It's time to go regulate. Damn, that's crazy. And kudos to your old friends that the ones at least that could realize that kids can be kids, but at the same time having that awareness that all right, this is obviously wrong. Like this is not something that you can just take so lightly. Kudos to them. Not everyone's like that. But Destiny, since we interrupted you twice, go ahead and ask the question.
No, that was a really good question because I feel like it created space to talk about the things that I feel like you don't really get to talk about with people who aren't in a similar situation. I feel like what you said, like little Ebony, like she went through so much and was so brave at such a young age. And like most people don't have to go through those things, but the fact that you're creating the space to talk about it and to share those experiences, like, great question. My question deserved to be interrupted. So yeah, the next question is around, now that we have kind of like the backstory and what those feelings felt like, and I know a lot of people listening are probably resonating with that, especially if you were diagnosed with alopecia at a young age, what would you say are your top 2 to 3 tips or like nuggets of advice for someone looking to own their version of beauty now? Someone who really resonates with little Ebony and what she's going through mentally and emotionally, like putting yourselves back in her shoes, and speaking from what like brought you to where you are today. Ooh, I think you're on mute.
Sorry.
Oh,
Oh,
no, you're
sorry.
good.
Oh, some advice I would give. Number one, be comfortable and confident in your skin. Giving the same advice that my mom has always said to me over the years, and I'm just so grateful for having such a loving family and supportive. Also, surround yourself with those who are supportive of you and your journey. Share your story when you're ready, not when other people want you to, but when you are ready. I think that is so important because at the time of my reveal, it honestly, like, and I'm a faith-based person, so the way God unveiled me during that time, it was just absolutely beautiful. I couldn't imagine it going any other way. And just to be just to finally arrive to that place where I don't have to conform to people's comments anymore or their ignorant perceptions on what they think beauty is. So it's important to embrace who you are, surround yourselves with a great support system, and share your story when you're ready. I think now it's a little easier since we have all of us on social media, all of us baldies. I love it because I didn't have that representation when I was younger. And now I'm a mentor to, I think she's 10 now, 10 or 11, you know, just to watch her champion alopecia, and she's Black just like me. That is just amazing to see how confident she is. I didn't have that confidence when I was her age. I was completely shattered by the comments and the mistreatment from my peers and the teachers who didn't know. So yeah, it's just really amazing to know how we have all of these influencers and advocates now. So yeah, definitely be confident in your skin.
Like, we've interviewed a few people now, and a lot of them mentioned the power of mentorship. And I don't know if you had a mentor when you were younger. And I know there's a lot more programs available either through schools or just online. There's apps that exist too as well. I'm curious to see if you had any mentorships growing up outside of your parents.
Honestly, I didn't.
Hmm.
I did. Nope,
So,
no
so,
mentor.
so if you didn't, what inspired you to become a mentor?
I wanted to be the role model that I needed when I was younger. And since having that gap, especially coming from a small town where no one knew what alopecia was, um, that it really meant the world to me to give back. And anytime I'm able to be a blessing to others, especially a kid with alopecia, I want them to know that you can champion this. I've gotten through this. I know exactly where you are. So being able to share that experience with them, but also hearing their perspectives on what alopecia is like for them and how they go through it every day and how they are able to articulate, it just means everything being a mentor.
Yeah, changing the standard of beauty, like we all know this is a long-term process, and like it requires effort, participation, like just the way media is viewed, media in particularly. But I guess I want to follow that up with like how you're using your past experience to be an advocate for folks who have alopecia today. What support and resources do you feel are more, or do you feel more people should be aware of? Like, you mentioned the mentorship, but like, is there anything else that you feel could be useful or needed for those that could see their alopecia as a challenge?
I would love for people to get connected to different support groups. And honestly, how everything started for me was through the National Alopecia Areata Foundation. So my first year there, I was welcomed by so many incredible people. To this day, I have such an awesome support system. I've met a lot of my friends through NAV, and being able to get in connection with those who are just like me. I remember walking through the hotel lobby during my first conference. I was nervous. I didn't know how I would fit in again. But someone very brave and kind told me, if you have never gone without your wig before, you will by the end of this conference. And I proved them right. Everything was just all in timing and having that support system. So I strongly encourage everyone to get connected to NAV. They have something for everyone, different support groups they have, um, everything for all ages. It's just an amazing group to be a part of.
I love that, especially because I've seen like just the different resources on Instagram that they share, the different workshops they host, even a post they shared about and what I want to actually do in our community is, what do you want your family, friends, and colleagues to know about alopecia? Like creating more awareness around um, what is what is alopecia, bringing awareness and creating more representation in a world where it feels like so many people are in the dark about it. And so major shouts to them. Like, I feel like the alopecia community is trying to grow to have a similar impact, because from what I've seen, NAF is literally amazing. So thanks for sharing that. And thank you for expanding more on how they've supported you and how much community is important. That's actually why this community exists, because we want to create a space like that. And so thank you so much, Ebony. You've been so amazing. So we're kind of going down to our last few questions. One being, what is the most important piece of advice you want the alopecia community members to take away from this guest interview?
The most important advice, wow. Honestly, to be comfortable in your skin. I know I say that a lot, but it's important, because once you fully accept this condition, and I know it can be hard. I know it's not the easiest to deal with, because it's very life-changing, and we all go through those challenges of watching our hair fall out and grow back. But once you love who you are, and self-love is important, I think others will begin to love you as well. And then I didn't love myself for a long time. I thought I had confidence, but behind all of that fashion and then everything else I did, I was hiding a lot of pain, and I didn't have anybody to talk to about this outside of my family. My friends, they knew my condition, but they didn't understand it. So I was really frustrated, not having a place to express myself and to really own this condition, and not letting it own my life anymore. So yeah, be comfortable and confident in your skin, and make sure that you share your story when you're ready.
Yeah, so I actually have a follow-up question. You pointed out a really good thing of like how we think that oftentimes we think that we have confidence. Like for me, not to make this about me, like I used to really struggle with acne, and like I would wear makeup and this and that, and I thought I had confidence. So when it came to your alopecia and just trying to fit in and subject yourself to traditional beauty standards, how did you know that your confidence wasn't real confidence? And how did you start to make that transition into what you know as like real confidence in owning your own beauty? Because I think sometimes it's really easy to feel confident when we have all of the things that make us feel better, like makeup, concealer, this, that. And so sharing a little bit more about that experience and how you were able to step out of that false confidence.
That's such a great question, Destiny. I would say, I guess the point where I had dealing with the whole fake confidence thing, it really heightened up when I started college. So when I matriculated to university, it was my first time being away from home. And I didn't realize how much that would affect me mentally until seeing these other girls on campus, because they looked amazing. Their hair was laid, edges laid, down to their, hair down to their back and everything. I remember one night after coming home from class, I had a mental breakdown because I tried to style my wig the best I could. I thought I had confidence, but I could tell that it was like, it wasn't there. I tried to put on a smile for everybody else. I mean, I guess I could go back to high school too, but I tried to put on a smile, everyone telling me, oh, you're going to be all right. It's going to be just fine. But in here, I wasn't fine. I cried myself to sleep many nights. I stayed in the bed. I dealt with depression. I've dealt with a lot of anxiety, social anxiety, and I'm trying not to cry thinking about this because people don't realize how much this affects you mentally. And dealing with the depression and isolation, that's not healthy. When people made all those comments to me, it really started to get to me in such a way that I didn't even want to, show up to different events anymore because I didn't feel like I was pretty, or I felt like somebody was going to sit behind me and try to yank at my wig to see if it'll come off. At times when I felt the prettiest or I tried to find the confidence to put myself together, other girls would make comments like, oh, you think you all that and you think you this. And you, honestly speaking, when girls make comments like that, it's really annoying. And how they feel about you is how they feel about themselves. So that goes back to people projecting their insecurities on you. And I've allowed people to do that to me for so many years. A girl that I used to be best friends with growing up, she made it her mission to call out my flaws in front of so many of our friends and classmates. And I said, that's not a friend. Like this is supposed to be somebody who I thought had my back, but evidently she didn't. So she was not a friend. And I had to learn early, and I'm glad that we parted ways. But, just dealing with that whole experience of having to put on that mask, it was tough. But I'm glad that I had some friends who were very supportive and understanding of that and allowed me to be myself around them and not judging me and not questioning me.
Wow.
Ooh,
Yeah,
right.
giving me goosebumps here. Uh, it's no, these are all facts. I mean, like it's whether someone's viewing you differently because of something of your physical characteristics or for something else, knowing the people that are around you and you having the self-awareness, knowing that this isn't right, what you thought was a friend was actually someone else adding more fuel to a negative fire. And you realize that. And I salute you for sharing that story with us, because it's important for other people to realize that you're not alone. There's a lot of people out there battling with the alopecia, along with a lot of people that embrace their alopecia. But like, what I'm getting of all this is like, beauty is such a complex, and we all know is subjective, is a subjective concept. It's defined in different ways. Generally, beauty I would see often associated with a positive quality, like your grace or your elegance, or like additionally, like beauty can also be a quality of kindness and compassion and inner strength. Um, I'm kind of still in my moment of shockness here, but Ebony has a question, her hands up, so go ahead. Oh no, Destiny, sorry.
No, you're good. Um, yeah, me too. I feel like I'm too emotional for this. Like I literally also an empath, so I just be like, whoo, I can definitely feel, but I really appreciate you for being honest and for being open, because it's really not easy to revisit those, especially when we've come out of it, to revisit those feelings and emotions. And even when you start talking about, even though you're out of it, just thinking about younger Ebony and what she went through, like how that brought about emotion, like it just speaks volumes, not only about your strength, but also how far you've come. And so I just feel like you're like a walking like ball of like wisdom. And so I know we've asked this question a million times, but what you said that really stood out to me was that self-love was really, really important for you getting like more comfortable in your own skin. And so I wanted to know, like, what does self-love look like for you? Like, what were the things that you were doing in college to bring yourself out of the depression? Like, were you talking to a therapist? I know your friends played a large role, but what were the things that you were doing that was filling you up, building up your confidence? And that now looking back played a large role into like who you became today or who you are today.
Um, Honestly, I did not start seeking therapy until after going public with my story. So, I don't recall going to any counseling sessions in college, but going back to my faith journey, honestly, coming from a family who prays and goes to church and just building up my confidence in God, that's honestly where it comes from. I know a lot of people ask, like, how did you get this confidence and how are you, doing this? And honestly, like, it's the Lord, because I would not be here if it weren't for the prayers, the love and support of my family, and having just that spiritual peace, because that's what really kept me together in college. I really wanted to, I really wanted to express myself in different ways, but I didn't know how. But I did have other outlets. Fashion was an outlet for me. Um, I was a fashion design major actually, but after getting an inside look on how stressful that industry is, I said, no, that's not what I want. But I still love putting outfits together. So fashion, art, exercising, of course, and being able to, stay fit and, staying healthy, um, just getting out and enjoying life, regardless of who doesn't embrace me or who doesn't talk to me. I still find a joy in living. There's so much life out here to grasp, and I'm just grateful for the outlets. And my mom, she always kept me involved in different activities growing up. So that's what really encouraged me to keep going.
I love that you say that because especially with depression, like they say that the littlest things, like getting up, brushing your teeth, taking a shower, like making your bed, like it makes such a difference. And then building that up to like going out with your friends, like those things that feel so big for you when you're in your head and you're really struggling doing them, and just like building up that self-trust is so important. So the fact that you said that, like just living and starting small and starting with what feels comfortable with you and building it up, like that is such a tangible way to build confidence. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And it's like gaining self-love is a process that you define that time. You also define the effort and the patience that you have with it. You can go from practicing self-compassion by treating yourself with more kindness and more understanding and more forgiveness. You can also like go about with like changing the negative self-talk, like these thoughts turn into actions that are in our heads, and converting that and working to reprogram that in more in a positive affirmation. I just put something on the chat box here. But also, like you pointed out, really taking care of yourself physically applies to your mental well-being as well. From not only exercising regularly, but also like eating well, getting enough sleep, taking care of your mental health by practicing mindfulness and meditation and therapy. All those things play a factor in our overall holistic being. And something that Charlie and I talk about a lot. Charlie, you talk about how you start your everyday morning is by practicing gratitude, making it a habit of noting that these things that you appreciate that are around you are things that are part of your life each day, and being able to identify and just say thank you to God or whatever spiritual being you believe in. But there's a universe out there that these vibrations travel. So surrounding yourself with positive people is important, learning how to forgive yourself, and ultimately accepting yourself by the ways of learning. So thank you for sharing that. I know we have about 15 minutes left, and I wanted to see if anyone has any other questions. To ask Ebony, the floor is open right now, so if anyone, feel free. This is your time to shine.
Wait, before that, did you
Oh.
did you want to do at the end where we ask where people can find Ebony after this interview and like the support as well?
Yeah. Since we're wrapping up and before we go to Q&A, good point, Destiny. Where can people find you and what do you find yourself doing nowadays?
Nowadays, I am working. I just started like going back to work officially for the first time since the pandemic. So now I'm working in the healthcare industry, but I am still on social media. I'm making my way back. I'm really excited. Everyone can find me on Instagram at @2_Ebony Jean. On TikTok, the same name, @2_Ebony Jean. YouTube, Ebony Jean. And if you're on Facebook, you can follow me as well.
Nice. Destiny, thanks for sharing that on the chat there.
Of course.
Is it, am I pronouncing that correctly? Camille, right?
Maybe Camille.
Camille.
Yeah, sorry. It's Camille. Yeah, sorry.
My Spanglish keeps saying, I'm like, Camila,
I'm good with that too. Ebony, thank you for sharing, your story and continuing to just be an inspiration. My question, my son is 6 and has been diagnosed with alopecia, and he has been diagnosed since he was just before he was 3 years old. So he's had it as long as he can remember. He barely remembers himself with hair, and really, I think only remembers it from pictures. So what my question is about, when you were young, what would you have? I mean, it sounds like your mom and your family and everybody was so supportive, but it also sounds like that you were suffering a little bit in silence sometimes, maybe crying yourself to sleep and things like that. And with Adam, I just want to make sure that I am supporting him in the best way possible. And so in those times where you weren't sharing things with your family, what do you wish would have happened, or how do you wish you could have been supported during those times? Or how do you convince your young person who might be struggling to talk to you and not just suffer in silence?
Thank you so much for that question, Camille. And it's really good to see you again.
It's good to see you too.
And before I answer, I just want to tell everybody I have a sister named Camille too. So I shared this with Camille when I was at the conference last year.
Yeah, it was so special to meet you. And I've been following you on Instagram, and, I'm just really, it gives me hope too for my son, to see just how beautiful you are living life and enjoying yourself and just really embracing who you are. And even if it took a long time to get there, here you are today being an inspiration to others. So thank you.
Wow, I'm honored. Thank you so much for that. And to answer your question, honestly, I wish I would have known about therapy, counseling, when I was your son's age. I know at times as little kids, it can be difficult to express themselves. And, he might not express 100% how he feels. He might tell you in part. I know a lot of days I told my mom, like, I don't want to go to school today. Kids were doing this, or they were saying this to me and about me. I did the best I could by, just telling my mom, like, why is this or asking her, why is this happening? Or why do I have to go through this? Or why are kids so mean to me and treating me this way? And I don't want you to think you're doing anything wrong, because you're doing a fantastic job. I give every parent that compliment, because my mom, she had a lot of questions, and she has just as much of a story as I do.
Mm-hmm.
But you're doing a fantastic job with your son, Camille.
Thank you.
Just by being there, you're welcome. And just by being there, it means something, to these kids, because they want somebody to listen to them and to be their support system. But one thing I wish I could have had was the therapy counseling sessions, so I could start early and being able to talk this out, you know. But I am grateful that I was able to articulate some of my feelings to my mom, and also my sister, you know, because she watched me go through this whole journey, and also my late grandmother, who was with us at the time. So yeah, I'm just grateful for that support and being able to share my feelings with my family.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's interesting that you say that because, obviously I didn't grow up with alopecia, but my brother did, my younger brother, Charlie. And he says something in the past, and something actually in our last episode of The Voices, that he would hide his feelings because he was seeing mom being hurt, and he would hide it from her because he didn't want to see her hurt. So he would just, Charlie can speak more about this, but he would just go through his own self sort of like meditation and go through a lot of anger moments and like battle it within himself because he just didn't want to tell her. And I think as a parent now, it's like, and I go through, I see little signs of it. I got a 5-year-old daughter now, and, I always try to preach about making her have better eating habits and not like, certain candies are good, certain candies are bad, but then she'll go hide the bad candy because she still wants to eat it. And it's like giving them more freedom to, and trusting them a little bit more about having them experience it on their own so they can make their own decisions. And you can only do so much, right? Because once they go out of school, it's like a whole other world, especially for a 5-year-old or, I don't know how old is your son, but how old is he? Were you on mute? Was he 6?
Yeah, he's 6. Yeah, he's 6.
But that mentoring, like, and Charlie, I don't know if you want to touch on this, but like for a 6-year-old going to any sort of counseling session, like if I'm young, I'm thinking, all right, maybe is there something wrong? And maybe that's a stigma, right? But it's like, this is more a question for Charlie, and this is me asking as a brother, but like, would something would have changed if you would have experienced getting counseling at that age, if you can remember back? Because I would feel like you would think we might make fun of you or something. And I know today's a different era, right? But in 90s and early 2000s, bullying was like it was a cool thing to bully kids. And now it's not. And I'm just speaking frank, right? But like, I don't know if you see that as something that would have helped you, because I think personally, I think it would, but I'm wondering how you would have handled it.
Just to be honest, I've been, first and foremost, I've been kind of quiet.
You got this, take your time.
Yeah, it's okay, Charlie.
It just takes me back.
Yeah, man. I know what you're feeling, Charlie, man. It's like she said, it's very hard. And hello, everyone. Yeah, it's very hard. I've been commuting. I've been quiet too, and it's great to hear Ebony's experience from her age. I got it later on in life. She had it growing up in life, and I couldn't imagine that. That's why I told them last time I don't like people, because people can be so cruel. Oh, you got cancer, oh, you got this, or you need to do this, or do you have this? And some people don't go and to questioning you and wanting to have a dialogue. They already have this preconceived notion. And Charlie, it hurts, man, to hear that. And and being a certain descent, we have to deal with enough. And then on top of that, it just makes you feel like you don't want to be here. Ebony, I really commend you for even sharing that. And I hope that lightened that load that was on you, because that load is very heavy. As we go through life, we have to shed that emotional distress, those times where we feel like, hey, why me? I still face that question, because I look at everybody in my family and they choose to go bald, and I'm like, okay, so why me? And it's very hard to interpret that sometimes, and you do have to be ready for that. You have to grow into that. It's not something that you can jump out there because it's a very vulnerable subject. It's very vulnerable. And that makes us vulnerable. The thing is that we share mutually is our tenacity. We had those breakthroughs. We persevered, but that pain, it seems like it'll never go away because it's like being reborn real time. You know, a lot of people don't understand that the amount and the magnitude of that. It's just and some people emotionally it tears them down, you know. Again, Ebony, I really commend you for saying that and being able to have this platform that Charlie, Rob, Destiny, and the others have created because we need this. I didn't have no mentor either. It was more my spiritual base and my family. I was being teased by my other brother peer. You know, I almost had to beat people up. And see, I didn't hear that in your story. So that means you didn't have that rage to where you wanted to fight. It was more, hey, just leave me alone. And I'm just gonna, you know, just bottle it up. On my end, I was ready to tear things up. Like, leave me alone, man. You know, it wasn't about the awareness when I first found out because I didn't know. You know, I thought something else was wrong with me. And that's a scary feeling and it hurts, man. You know, I feel the same way, Charlie, man. I feel the same way.
Now, for me was, you know, she said the word mask when she was explaining her story and when she would mask her feelings, and I was notorious for that. There was a time, it had nothing to do with alopecia though, but there's a time when, you know, me and my brothers and my cousin, we all lived in the same household, and I was dealing with depression. This is the time when I was living in Detroit, ironically, and they had no idea that I was depressed. So it just takes me back. Even though I've overcome alopecia, even I overcome all these struggles, it just takes me back to those moments, especially when I was hearing Ebony's story, and it was super impactful. And then especially when she said that word mask, it's just like, it was like a trigger for me because that was something I was actually pretty good at. It was hiding my feelings. And as I got older, I started realizing that's not the way to do it. So I'm not ashamed. I'm not, you know, to let my feelings, you know, you can see my emotions, see my tears. It's all good because this is actually helpful for me to express myself because this is me being in an uncomfortable situation. I have to be comfortable in that situation. You know what I mean? So yeah, Ebony, yeah, for real, man, your story has been nothing but inspiring. And I definitely, you know, see the strength. It's just very inspiring.
Charlie, one of the reasons why I was asking this question, because it's like, you know, with Camille and her son might see her hurt the way you saw mom hurt, right?
So let me add something to that. Yeah, right.
Being able to talk to someone else outside of outside of your brothers, because maybe your brother's gonna make fun of you, outside of your mom, because you don't want to see that hurt. It's like counseling at that age. Would that have had a different effect on you?
I don't know. I felt like with me at the like if I would have had some counseling, I would have probably looked like why am I doing counseling, not other kids are doing counseling? What's wrong with me? You know, I probably would have taken that approach. I mean, the advice I can give Camille is, you know, and for the little that I do know of you and just watching from afar, I mean, you've done an amazing job trying to be there and support Adam. But there's going to be days where he's not going to want to talk to moms. You know, sometimes, you know, I deal with that now with my kids. Sometimes they don't want to talk to their mom and dad. You know what I mean? So all you can do is just continue to be there for them, continue to show support. Because at the end of the day, it always starts at home. And at the end of the day, if something's wrong, they're going to go into they're gonna go into how they were raised and what would mom do, what would dad do, you know. So just keep being there and supporting him. There's gonna be days where he's not gonna want to talk. There's not gonna be days where he's not gonna tell you. There's gonna be days like Ebony said that she was crying herself to sleep. I've been there, you know. So just continue being there for him, showing support, hold his hand through his journey. Because we're not gonna know when he's gonna fully accept it, and pay attention to his body language and see how he acts. You know what I mean? And address it accordingly. But just keep showing support. Keep doing what you're doing, because he's gonna turn out to be a terrific kid. I know it. So just keep showing him love, keep showing him support, and eventually, you know, it's gonna take. Whenever he's ready, you'll know.
Facts, big facts. And with that, we're coming to a wrap. I mean, I can't express enough. This was therapeutic for all of us, I would say. It's one of those things that no matter how much we know that promoting self-awareness is important, encouraging people to own their own thoughts and feelings, especially when it comes to beauty or how society views us. Like, all those things are important, and encouraging self-expression as well. But it's like, it's not until you grow through life that you really start to have this empowerment of achievement, empowerment of growth, and this evolution that we call humanity, right? You know, it's like the game is about the journey itself, you know, not about the destination. So I appreciate you guys all tuning in. This is why we're here at Alopecia.Community, and I can't thank you enough. Ebony, you've been a wonderful guest. Can't wait to do this again. I'm going to be sharing this on our YouTube channel as well, in case anyone missed it, on our community. And you know where to find Destiny. We put the, you know where to find Ebony. Let's take a picture, by the way. Let's end it with a positive note here. Smile for the picture. I'm going to count on 3 and then take a quick picture, y'all. That's okay.
It's gonna be tough for me to smile right now.
Hold on, I'm wiping my
But
teeth.
go ahead.
1, 2, 3, cheese. All right, y'all. Well, can't thank you enough. You guys have a blessed and wonderful day. Peace.
All right,
Thank